Thank you for coming to watch Dr. Smith's video today. We encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the alert button. That way you can get notifications when he uploads a new video. Thank you for coming today.
So we hope you take the time to hear and think about, and if you have a book, read in the book about the concept and the topics that we talk about. They have a lasting effect. The intent is not necessarily to treat pain, but to make permanent, long-term correction with your whole family and your friends.
Thank you. Make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Okay, today we're going to talk about the whole body vibration machine. So a couple of you have been to this class before, right? So I'll shorten the first part because I want you to know a little bit about the history. Back in the 80s, the Russians were sending astronauts into space. When they come back sick. They would lose bone density and lean muscle mass. It would take them a long time, a year or more, to get well. So they asked the doctors if they could come up with a solution. The doctors decided that they could stimulate the bones while the astronauts were in weightlessness, that would help them stay strong. So they developed whole body vibration machine and sent it into space. It worked. When they came back, they had not lost the bone density. They had not lost the lean muscle mass. The Germans heard about it and they decided to capitalize on the knowledge with their athletes. So they took the big athletes who wrestled and did weightlifting in the Olympics, and they built big platforms that they could stand on and lift weights. Because when you stand on the vibration machine, your body develops new bone, better nerve flow, and muscle to the whole body. So they did very well. Then the colleges and medical facilities learned about that, and they started to do a lot of research. One of the ones they did was they took healthy college athletes, divided them into two groups for 12 weeks. One group went to the gym and worked out for an hour, lifting weights and doing stuff. The other group went to whole body vibration for 10 minutes. At the end of 12 weeks, the whole body vibration group had accelerated more than another group. So after that, they started making and marketing whole body vibration. And right now they're marketed all over the world. And they're very popular, becoming more popular in physical therapists' offices, chiropractors, massage therapists, medical doctor's office. I went to a medical seminar in Denver, and the focus of the seminar was on pain. There were two booths that had different units. The one that impressed me the most sold for $16,000. I stood on it, it did same kind of motion. Why 16,000? Because it was heavier, it was bigger. What did they use it for? This blew my mind. The medical doctors who would use them in their clinic for pain would have people come to the office 3 times a week for 12 weeks, stand on the machine for 8 to 12 minutes, and bill them $150. So if your husband uses it, it won't.
He thinks it'll shake up his fusions in his back and his neck.
Okay. Well, the time will come when he'll probably give in. So that brings up a good question. And the question would be who can use it and who should not use it. The fellow who just left has a rod in his back, both hips replaced, both knees, both shoulders. Oh, one knee, both shoulders.
Wow.
So my question for anybody off the street, if I don't examine them, my question is, can you walk? If you can walk, you can use a T-zone. Period. Number two, can you get hurt on the T-zone? The answer is yes, for sure. You can damage somebody who's even relatively healthy. Tell you a true story. I had a friend in Colorado Springs who owned a fitness center. That was the name of it, Fitness Systems. They sold exercise equipment to hotels, high schools, colleges, junior high, mostly to the companies, big units.
Treadmills,
What?
exercise bikes.
The
that
whole
kind
deal.
of- yeah.
A big
Oh.
showroom, lots of stuff. I said to him, come down, I'll show you the T-zone. I think you'll be impressed. He came into my office and looked at it and kind of snickered, and then he was going to just be obedient and try it out. So he got on it, and I told him, I said, it does a lot more than you think it's going to do. What was his name?
Jay Huey.
Jay, yeah, Jay. I said, Jay, it's doing more than you think it's doing. So he got on and turned up the speed and did this and did that, and did this, and it worked out. I said, Jay, you're doing too much. He said, I can't feel anything. I said, you will tomorrow. And he kept going. I said, Jay, you're crazy. He said, this is a joke. I'll take this to me again. So he went home, and I knew what would happen. The next morning he called me. I'm stiff, I'm sore all over. That really worked me out. So he started selling them in his shop, and because it did way more than you think it's going to do. So whenever I sell one, I always recommend you start slow and gentle. We'll talk about that today. But so even being very fit, you can overdo it. But if you do it right, anybody will benefit from it. My grandkids call this Grandpa's big toy. They like to get on it and bounce, and sometimes two or three of them get on it and play the numbers. I've never had any of them get hurt. So that's kind of the background. Now, for the home use, for our use, if we compare it to other exercise machines like treadmill, exercycle, barbells, whatever you have in your home. I had a lady who wanted to buy an elliptical. Elliptical is a bad machine. You should never use that, because you only use that motion when you're on the machine. You'll never use that motion any other time. Now the T-zone, you always use that up and down motion. Now the T-zone is designed like a teeter-totter. It goes like this. When you stand on the T-zone with your feet together, about 2 inches apart, you're only moving up and down probably less than 2 or 3 millimeters. If you go out to the edge, it goes up and down 12 millimeters. A word that describes that is intensity. So the user determines the intensity by the foot width position. It's always better to use low intensity more frequently than too high of intensity or too long. The other variable is the speed. I'm going to give to you a handout that explains that, but basically I divide it into 3 categories. Slow speed helps enhance the nerve tissue and the muscle tissue for motion, balance, and then the last thing that comes is alignment at slow speed. When you're standing on the T-zone and it tips, your whole body responds to the tip. Nerve messages go from your feet up through your leg, your back, neck, into the head, cross over, send another message back down. It can, each time it tips, there's time for that message to go 3 times. The nerves are very fast. Then it tips the other way. So your body is always re-establishing the clarity of the nerve tracks. The nerve tracks is what maintains function and balance. If there's any imbalance in the body, that's one of the best things that can be done to re-establish balance. And commonly with elder people, one of the biggest issues is leaning forward.
Mm-hmm.
They get head forward, they get torso forward. When that happens, their shoulders rotate inward, the legs compensate, that changes the alignment in the knees, changes the alignment in the feet and the hips, and causes the low back to tighten, to keep you from tipping over forward. When you stand on the T-zone with the body more back in the neutral posture, you're re-establishing nerve pathways. I like to think of it like a road or a trail through a prairie. If the road doesn't get used often, it goes in with weeds or something else. If the nerves are not used often, like walking, standing straight, they start to not have the same clarity, so they become like a trail that's going over. And you use a whole body vibration machine in neutral, balanced, proper alignment, you're re-establishing nerve pathways. So medically, the doctors who bill insurance companies for this bill for neuromuscular reeducation. There's a medical code for that. And they have to use it for 8 to 12 minutes, that's all, to get that billing code applied and paid for. Now, and if you have any questions on what it is and so forth. Okay, now let's talk about the bones for a minute. Another common problem with elderly people is the bones get soft and the bones get weak. It's called osteopenia, or if it advances, osteoporosis. If the body's not balanced properly and bones tip where they should be spaced properly, they develop bone spurs. Bone spurs occupy space that should not be filled in with bone. Oftentimes it puts pressure on nerve roots that go into organs or muscles. It impinges upon blood flow. It affects lymphatic flow drainage. Remember, the blood feeds the tissue, the lymph cleans the tissue more. So it affects that. So it's often that the nerve will get too much pressure. Oftentimes the nerve gets sick. If it's a nerve that goes to the kidney, you then have kidney failure. If it goes to the liver, etc., bowel, lungs, heart, whatever, or muscle. A lot of muscle weakness is because of nerve pressure, and that helps undo that. And it also helps, like the astronauts, that up and down motion creates what's called bone demand. When you put demand on bones and have proper nutrition, the bones get better. When the bones get better, you make better and more stem cells. And stem cells have the ability to go anywhere and do whatever the body needs them to do. So it's very effective. It's more effective to use it short term, often, and a lot of time, once or twice a week. Yes.
So sarcopenia also is a factor. Wasting muscle loss. Once you hit the age of 40, it starts decreasing unless you actively start resistance training or weight training or something. And that's another thing that the whole body vibration also helps with, is preserving that lean muscle so that you don't end up with sarcopenia. That's part of the reason too that it's easier for people to slump and get the leaning forward and the bad posture and everything. Over the age of 40 is when that starts.
Thank you for sharing that. That research shows that after age 40, the average person will lose about 1 pound of lean muscle mass per year. Now, when you're 60 or 70, you may weigh about the same as you did when you're 40, but the tissue has transitioned. So now you have less muscle, more fat, maybe more lymph fluid. I saw a lady today who thought she was fat. It wasn't fat, it was only, I call it swamp, more toxic lymph fluid. But the weight has not changed a lot. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of that. Now, I'd like to pass out these 2 handouts. A couple of you have these already.
I've got more. I still might have to.
I'd like to look first at the one that has the questions on it. We'll do that one first.
Did you get one?
She did. Thank you. So, number 1 is true. Number 2 is true. Number 3 is true. I have a lot of people who go to the gym. By the time you get ready to go and you go to the gym and you come back, it always takes 1 to 2 hours for that, what they call, attorneys call it door to door, from the time you left to the time you come back. When you have it, when it is in your home, and you have it in the right spot in the home, you just stop on your way by and get on it for a few minutes. And you only have to use it for a few minutes to get very good results from it.
Can I share a little bit of a funny story about that?
Sure.
I don't want to toot my own horn in any way here, but it's part of the story. So I predominantly work out on my whole body vibration unit. It's in a good place in my home. I use it all the time. Probably 80% of the exercise I do is on there. The other 20% is walking outside. And I had been chosen out of like 50,000 applicants or 50,000 participants across the US as a finalist in a fitness competition that's based primarily on body composition, musculature, that kind of thing. And the finals are coming up here in a couple of weeks, and they're talking about, oh good, we can all get together, go work out together, it'll only take 2 hours a day. And I'm like, I'm out, I don't want to go, I'm not going to be there, I've got other stuff to do. That's a waste of my time. But it's what the rest of them have been doing.
Crazy.
And I'm like, I'm like 10 minutes done, good. Yeah. So I just think I have other ways to spend my time.
That's a good story.
Than that.
These come out of Canada, and years ago they would rent a spot like this and put 6 or 7 downtown. So the lawyers and the accountants and the people who work downtown on their break could come in with a suit and tie and clothes and stand on the machine and get 8 or 10 minutes worth of exercise and not work up a sweat because the whole body's involved, not just certain muscles. And it worked really, really good for quite a while, but what they found was those people ended up buying them, so they didn't need to come. It didn't come as often. Number four. Underline the word balance and alignment. Nerve pathways. Is reestablish the nerve pathways. That's a big thing. That's a neuromuscular re-education. That's a true statement. Number 5. Strength and endurance are more important than motion, balance, and alignment.
No.
False. Yesterday in class we talked about what's called a governor on an engine, a motor. It keeps the engine from going too fast. If you have faulty biomechanics, in other words, the body is not straight, you can only get so strong. Then the body won't let you get any stronger. Because if you get stronger, crooked, you'll do more damage faster. So being aligned and balanced and having good motion is more important. I have a true story I have to share with you. I had a fellow in Colorado Springs who was a German. He was at the Olympic Training Center training. He developed some significant back pain and came to see me on Friday. I checked him over. His body was crooked. So I put a wedge in his heel to temporarily hold him up so he was more straight. That was Friday. He came back Monday, walked in the office, I came over, grabbed hold of me, scared me. He just grabbed, his big guy, he grabbed hold of me. He said, Dr. Smith, I love you. I said, well, why? He said, I've lifted weights for a long time. My maximum weight is 405 pounds. Yesterday, Sunday, I lifted 450 pounds. Just because we balanced them. We balanced his hips. He was totally impressed. Now, he didn't stay there because he had to have that retraining the nutrition that we talked about, retraining. But that happens automatically. Like somebody's had hip or knee or back surgery, the body will always on its own, with not even being aware of it, will go to the most balanced position when you're moving up and down. 6, true, you reverse osteoporosis and arthritis both. 7, true. 8, aerobic exercise can be done on the T-zone by adding a few basic positions. True. My friend Jay, who owned the fitness shop, said you can't get it on there, but you can. You have to, if you stand the twos on for more than 3 minutes, you automatically do an aerobic exercise. Then if you want to fine tune an area, which I'm going to show you, you can do that too. Number 9, the maximum recommended time is 10 to 12 minutes. So all the machines are set, so automatically shut off after 10 to 12 minutes. Due to the intensity and value, it's best to start with slow speed and feet together. I mentioned that already. Number 11, high speeds of the body gets a massage-like benefit. They can enhance sleep. That's true. Number 12 is also true. Now let's go to the other handout. At the bottom of the second handout, it has the word speed. As I told you, slow speed, 1 to 10. I think it's best to help you achieve motion first, then balance, and alignment comes last. If you want to build muscle tone and stamina, it goes higher speed, medium, and do motion exercise. The books show pictures of different things you can do. I'm going to show you some that help strengthen each body part. And then fast, that's above 25, 21, clear up to the top. That is primarily used to massage, because at the higher speed, the body does not have time to respond, and when it's already gone the other way. So the body will then just relax. That's one that I recommend you use right before you go to bed. I'll show you one particular stance that you can use that will help you more than anything to get alignment and balance. Okay, so I've divided this section into body parts, starting at the top. Would you snag my neck out of the, thank you.
It's right there.
I use it for the last person who was here.
Could I have a copy of this? Thank you.
Yep.
Oh. I already had one.
So
I'm
by design, we're having this discussion now to help you understand a little better the anatomy of the tissue. For example, my door hinge swings this way. Your joints are designed to do certain motions. My door won't go fold down. It's not designed to do that. In the neck, most rotation, that's this, of the head, turning the head, occurs in the upper neck. C1, C2. C2, there's 7. 1 holds the head, 2 is like, has a peg sticking up. It's called an odontoid. 1 swivels around that. So when you turn your head right and left, most of that motion occurs right up here. That's important because a lot of people try to turn their lower neck. That's not, and it's not designed to turn. It's the lower neck is designed only to go forward and back. Mostly. Can it turn? Yes, it can turn some, but mostly forward and back. The curve in the neck is designed for the weight to be on the discs, on the front. The back of the neck is designed to move to guide the motion. We have two guides, one on each side of each side of the back of the neck. They're called facets. It's the joints that they guide that way. So if you're trying to strengthen or rehab the neck, you tip the head slightly forward and slightly back. Not way forward, not way back. Slightly forward, slightly back. That helps to rebuild the tissue on the facets as well as the discs. All soft tissue will remodel. All soft tissue will renew when used within acceptable range of motion. I call it tissue tolerance. If you exceed tissue tolerance, you will do damage. I just saw a lady early this afternoon who came up from Utah who has some clicking in her neck. She has hypermobility from an old injury. And she every day turns her head and clicks, clicks, clicks. Every day that's repetitive micro trauma that won't heal if she does that. I've been in 5 car accidents. One of them tore some tissue in my mid-neck. So when I tip my head down and back too far, it would click because it would slide too far. I went to the radiologist and had him take what's called a cine radiography. That's a motion picture of the neck. So I could see exactly how far I could go without it slipping. And I said, so what do we do? He said, you need to have surgery. I said, see you later, pal. So I come home and with that knowledge, I used the T-zone and did exactly what I told you. I moved my head forward and back and not far enough that it clicked. So I stayed within tissue tolerance. So the tissue regrew. And so now I can do normal range of motion in my neck with no clicking, no pain. It healed just fine. That's the lower neck. So when you're on the T-zone, it's moving. You tip slightly, you tip back slightly, and it helps rebuild the neck. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We're down to letter C. We'll do C and D together. C is the shoulder girdle. The shoulder girdle includes the arm, the scapula, the clavicle. That unit is the shoulder girdle. The unit sits on a shelf. The shelf is by design the top of the rib cage. The top of the rib cage comes up, it's very narrow. The top ribs are short. The shoulder girdle sits on there. The shoulder girdle should slide around, forward, and back. I use the words open and close. Closed, open. Now, when people use their arms a lot forward, they end up closing that in the back. The scapula get pulled apart and they stay there. When that happens, the arms turn, changes the alignment, and creates a malfunction in the shoulder. That creates a lot of shoulder problems. It also creates a tension in the elbow. That's why a lot of people get what's called tennis elbows. Because the hands are like this instead of like this, they develop carpal tunnel problems. If their shoulders go back, the wrists will be straight. When the shoulders go forward, the wrists have to turn. carpal tunnel. Surgeons love that. They go in and try to create more space, and it never stays fixed unless we get the shoulders back. When you're on the T-zone, you can do your arms out, back. I'll get on in a minute, show you. Because it's associated with lung capacity, chest expansion and contraction. When the chest cavity, the ribs, are moving normal, the lungs work better. COVID hurt a lot of people's lungs, and they move shoulders forward. When I do an exam, I can measure the chest. You can do it at home. You can measure your own chest expansion. How much chest expansion is normal?
2.5 inches.
Bingo. Exactly right. 2.5 or more. Now, I had a lady in class the other day who said I have female problems. They've dropped down. It's affected all the tissue in that area. They've done surgery. They've tried to fix it. Still has a lot of problems now. Part of the problem is the pelvic structure is not straight. When the pelvic structure is not straight, the tissue inside can't work right. Same with the lungs. If the chest cavity is torqued, if there's curvature or slumping, and the lungs are compromised, it can't work right. Same with the head. I had a young lady who's been having seizures for a long time, bad seizures. Her head was crooked and stuck. So the cavity where her brain lived was distorted, which then caused her to build up cerebral spinal fluid and have seizures. Another one I saw today a lady had dizziness and imbalance. When she walked down the hallway, she was off to the side and torqued. I knew her head would be torqued. I checked her head was very crooked. She can fix that by doing some of the self-care that we teach her how to do. But again, the bony cavities, the head, the chest, the pelvis, need to be within acceptable alignment and acceptable range of motion for them to function properly. So let me demonstrate for you a couple of things you can do at home on the T-zone to enhance lung capacity. And keep in mind, the lungs, if the lungs are working properly, they eliminate in a gaseous form about 75% of the poison in the body. Remember, the lymph and the venous blood is dirty. It comes up and gets into the right heart. The dirty blood goes from the right heart into the lungs. What do the lungs do with the toxic waste?
Exhale it.
Exhale it. But if you don't breathe in and out properly, it doesn't get cleaned like it should. Then it goes back into the left heart and gets pushed down to the body, and the tissue and the kidneys go, what's the deal? Now they have to do more work. And if you're not drinking enough water, the kidneys work even harder and the blood gets dirty. So it's real important to keep the chest open and moving. So real simply, I'll just turn this way. I'm going to put my feet about shoulder width apart. We're good? So you can do it with the hands here, you can do it with here, it doesn't matter. I like to bring the elbows up Now, this is a procedure. You take a big breath in, lead with the head, turn. Were you comfortable? No, I didn't just turn my head. I led with my head, but I turned mostly with my chest. I like to touch the machine, so I'm not doing this. Because the low back's not designed to turn, only the rib cage. Okay? So we're focused on the ribs. When we get here, we still have a chest full of air, and we'll blow out. It will blow out more. It will blow out more. 3 or 4 times. When we're empty, take another breath in, and go the other way. Till you're comfortable, and blow out. And breathe in again, and come back again. You go both ways. Now, if you want to do this, even like they said in the South, more better, you breathe deep, you breathe wide, you breathe belly. So one day you could do one day you could do another. And see what happened to the scapula. This one went back, this one goes forward. I'm closing this one, opening this one, and I'm opening this one, closing this one. So I'm doing shoulders, shoulder blades, chest, all at the same time. And then the handout, I recommend right at the top, when you can, combine motion, so you combine therapy. That's one of the reasons it's so effective. Now I'm going to demonstrate low back, pelvis, hips, and knees. Again, we'll combine some of those. I want you to first look at the ankle and the foot. The foot has 27 bones. The ankle should be horizontal. When you lean forward too long, the foot gets tired and it tips. When that happens, the knee gets in trouble because now the knee is at an angle. The hip gets in trouble. We want to keep the ankle and foot and the knee and the pelvis mobile and aligned. Now the low back, I want to show you one thing on the low back. A lot of injuries occur when people rotate, when you rotate the low back. Vacuuming, lawnmower, shoveling. Look at the low back joints. The low back joints are this way. They're designed to go forward and back. You see that? They're not designed to rotate.
When we do that,
What?
when we do that hip roll exercise, aren't we doing that?
When
The thoracic roll?
What do you call, I don't know, some roll that goes,
Thoracic roll.
you do the thoracic roll, the focus should be on the chest. You can do some, okay, when you're laying on your back and you're doing you slide your knees up and roll over. The good news is that you don't have a lot of weight on it. You're just moving them within acceptable range. Now, just like with the neck. The neck can turn some. The low back can turn some. It's not all or none. It's a gradient. Okay. These vertebrae up here, these joints up here, as you can see, lay this way, they're flat, so they can turn. That's what they're designed to do. But generally speaking, with the design of the spinal column, most of the weight should be on the discs. And if the spine is balanced and aligned and mobile, the disc won't wear out. When people wear out a disc, when they wear out a hip, when they wear out a knee, it's because it's crooked and wore out to front. Just like in your car. If your car is out of alignment, it will wear out faster. So I'm going to show you quickly a couple things with the low back. The knees, the hips, the feet. Again, you can combine them. If I'm going to do just the low back, I can flex forward. I can come up and go back. Now, when I did that, I also moved the weight forward on my neck and moved the weight back on my neck. So when I did the low back, I also did the neck. Now, to do the knees and the hips and the ankles, I'm going to bend the knees slightly and do small, slow circles both ways. Okay? Now, because we want to help all the tissue become better and better, we then change the position of the feet. So they're out, like when you do the sacral slide. When you bend the knees, always bend the knees in the parallel to the feet. So when my feet are out, my knees go out. I can do circles. That's affecting different tissue than when I point my toes in, bend my knees in, do circles again. That's helping the feet and the knees and the hips. It's helping the femur head. Now while I'm here, I'm going to show you what you can do sitting down. When I do my morning routine, I always sit. Start out straight. Pubis down. Belly button forward. I want the curve in the low back. I want to get my shoulders back, so I bring my arms up. Lean back. And let the machine do the work for about 15 seconds. And then move over to the side. At that position, this side gets lifted more. That changes the spine like this. Then I go to the other side. And I go oblique. 45. Another 45. I like also, while I'm here, I like to use a weight. I have 10-pound weights. If you do it, only use one or two. But I do a lot of shoulder stuff, a lot of different actions to help my whole shoulder, and arm, elbow, wrist. Okay. Each day I do different ones. I do one side and then the other side, so you get oblique strength enhancement. Does that make sense?
If you had two, would you do two at the same time? Or is it better to do one side at a time?
I'm going to say it, I don't know if it's better, it's different. I don't think it's right or wrong. I think it's your preference. Sometimes I use 2 10-pound weights, but most of the time we use one. Why do we use 10? Because I have 10. And I don't think 5 is enough for me, but I would not use 20. 20 is too much for what I'm interested in. Now, one of the common problems, again, is doing too much. A general rule is to stay within twisted tolerance, and if you error, do too little rather than too much. Same with time. If you're not sure how much time to use it less time. The best key is to use it often. I recommend you not skip more than 2 days. And I recommend you get some kind of routine and then modify it slowly over time. So you do get the whole body involved directly. Are there any questions? Any more?
You talked about when you're standing straight. You talked about the hips and the pelvis and everything. I don't know which way to turn. I'm totally confused on that.
Well, you can.
Sometimes it's get your hips down underneath you, and sometimes it's tilt them, holding you back, up. I just don't understand it.
By divine design, the pubis should be low.
So then you're sticking your butt out the back,
Rump up.
Rump up.
rump up,
Rump
So,
up.
yeah.
pubis low. Isn't that different to the way we've always been taught?
Yeah,
Yeah, you've been taught wrong.
We've been taught to tilt this way, and you're saying tilt this way.
See,
it's a real relief to do it the right way.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
again, a lot of female problems, a lot of prostate problems, a lot of bowel problems occur because people slump and the low back goes flat. Low back goes flat, pubis goes up, the organs are now cramped. They're not hanging like they should hang.
Haven't we been taught that since junior high?
Well,
It's
see,
it's hold your tummy in, tilt your rump under, and that's wrong.
That's only for aesthetic appearance because they think it makes you look slimmer that way
Okay.
from the side.
Okay.
yet we have cultures right now that are selling
Booty implants. Brazilian butt lifts.
Yeah.
to make the butt look better by sticking out the butt.
Out the back.
And athletes,
I want to see how you stand that way.
How I stand?
How do you stand that way? I mean, this is it. I'm just like, I can do this.
That's how I'm standing.
okay,
You're talking about standing like a ballerina where they tuck it under.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this,
But go
and that's wrong.
like
Yeah.
this.
if I'm teaching
You still have to suck your tummy in.
women at a charm school, I'm gonna say raise two things: your butt and your boobs.
My shoulders. Oh my! My mother taught charm school. She never told me that.
Shoulders back.
Interesting.
Perfect.
Interesting.
Now, if you tuck the butt down,
Mm-hmm.
you compress this tissue. Now, never said that you're much flatter if you do that. But the truth is, you have abdominal muscles that hook under the top of the pubis, the bottom of the rib cage. If you separate them further apart, you become flatter. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, where were we
Yes.
55 years ago or so?
Yes. Thank you.
Now, while you're still here, I want you to lift back so you have less weight on your toes.
Not do what?
Put more weight
Less.
on your heels.
Less
Lay
weight,
back.
your big toes.
Oh. Okay.
You know, when you're back there, these muscles are soft. You know, they're soft. When you go forward,
This just
they
feels
tighten
so,
up.
so awkward. Thank you.
When you're back here, your foot relaxes. When you're up here, your foot gets tired, the foot goes flat, and your knees buckle in, you get soreness in here. Okay. Now you know.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the big problems with general population is head forward posture, shoulders forward, arms forward. Foot gets tired and goes like that. Now we have a knee problem. And I bet you there's not a surgeon in town who will tell you that. He'll say, oh, you got bone on bone, let's give you a new knee.
So you're saying back onto the heel.
Okay. By divine design, God gave us a back foot. That's the back foot. You have an arch that goes right there. That short arch from here to here. Where is the leg? The weight of the leg is in the middle of that arch.
Yeah.
Right? It's not in the middle of this arch. It's in the back. The front foot is designed to push you off when you walk. When you walk, when you run, you use the front foot to push you. You use the back foot to land on. By design, the heel is round. When the weight goes past midline, the weight shifts from the back foot to the front foot.
Can I ask a question? Like, my husband has flat feet, so he has really no arch.
Yeah.
But,
His is like this.
yeah,
So he's wearing out his ankle and his knee.
he does have a bad knee, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's yeah.
He for sure has a bad knee. He should use the T-zone to rehab his arches.
I'll talk to him about that.
Guaranteed. He's
He
got,
also has a thing where when he walks, sometimes his little bones in his feet don't.
yeah, because
Yeah.
those, again, all of these bones are shaped to fit directly with the next bone. And when they get malaligned, they all become crooked and they wear out faster. And you go to a podiatrist, so give you a little arch support to buy you some time. Doesn't fix the problem.
Right.
If you stand the teeth on with your toes loose, weight more back, you retrain that nerves to hold you more balanced. When you go shopping, hold the cart like this, get up close, get your shoulders back, take smaller steps. When you cook, get up close, lean back on your heels,